Hi, welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Deep Mahmood, with my normal co-host, Hunter. And today we're going to be talking about Ravens and Steelers, the rest of the NFL, and then we're going to finish up with talking about Virginia Tech football. So let's start with Ravens Steelers. Obviously, I'm going to start with the Ravens. They had a close loss to the Buffalo Bills, 23-20. There were a few penalties that were ticky-tacky penalties, like Mark Andrews in the first quarter. Let me explain. So this is what Mark Andrews says to the defender.
Oh,
Not,
yeah.
and then so he catches it, right? So he catches it at the 1 yard line. And then they call offensive pass interference. The ball gets backed up to 25 or whatever. Lamar gets a sack and they get a field goal. That kind of ticked me off a little bit because that was a garbage pass interference, and that was potentially the difference because at the 1 yard line between a field goal and a touchdown. And given how the game ended, those 4 points probably would have mattered. The second call, there was a small call where the Bills defender kind of uh, early contact that wasn't called. But the other one was I want to say Brandon Stevens. He on a Bills 40 on the Ravens 41 or I think somewhere in that range. It was a corner blitz. He runs full speed. Josh Allen throws for 1 second, and then Brandon Stevens kind of pushes him onto the ground. And you want to guess what penalty came up?
No, which one?
Roughing the passer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently the refs said, oh, that really wasn't roughing the passer. That was contact to the neck or head area. Watch the replay. He hit him right in the chest. And Josh Allen's a pretty big guy. Oh, and by the way, you want to know how big that call was? That was 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10. That would have made it 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10, just outside field goal range. You add 15 yards to that. Bills are on the Ravens' 26-yard line, first down in a tied game. These refs need to be held accountable. Those were just a few bad calls. Now I do want to get to the big part here. 4th and goal at the 2. Ravens decide to go for it. It was a pretty nice play call. Devin Duvernay kind of splits away from the safety. He's wide open, like literally at the end of the end zone. He's just standing there. He's camped. The nearest safety is like 5 yards away. The offensive line doesn't protect Lamar, and then he sees him. It's a little too late. He throws it. Jordan Poyer kind of recognizes it. So Devin Duvernay tries to come up. Jordan Poyer beats him to it and gets the interception. So, and then the Bills obviously kick the field goal to win the game. And what would you have done in that situation? 4th and 2 tied game against the Bills. Would you have kicked the field goal, or would you
I
have?
personally would have. I think I would have kicked it. I know it, I know it's a close game, but to me, you get the lead, right? Sure, I know Josh Allen's really good at coming back, even when he's down with 2 minutes to go. But also, you say you have one of the best defenses in the league, and before that, I think they were playing against Allen pretty well. Okay, go out there. You're at home. You know the stadium well. I know it's kind of a weird like weather day out. Go out there and make a stop. I think he should have been more confident in his defense there and just say, hey, we're going to kick the field goal. At worst, maybe the game goes to overtime. And if you're able to keep them out of the end zone, especially, but I think I would have kicked it there. I know, analytics and all that. Trust me, I get it. Harbaugh has been very big into that. But I think there comes a point in time where I think you need to say, okay, I know I'm very analytically inclined with my thinking, but I need to be a bit more safer there. You take the lead, you rely on your defense. You don't have to maybe call a bunch of cover zeros like you used to, I think, with Wink Martindale and stuff. I would have kicked the field goal. I think that was just too risky.
Yeah, so you're right. It was a very risky play because you either end up with 0, 3, or 7. So if you the reason why I'm fine with them going for it, first of all, there was another play where Odafe Owe tackled one of the Bills running back when they should have let him score. Well, that's fine. That's another topic for another day. But John Harbaugh brought up a great point about it. Like, and so he basically what he said was this: it's 4 down. Like, I'm gonna paraphrase, but he said it was essentially it's 4 down territory for the Bills. If whatever happens, the Bills, it's 4-down territory. So I would say Tyler Bassett's field goal range is probably 35-yard line, somewhere in that range. So if you kick the field goal, it's 4-down territory. Josh Allen's really good. They got a really good offense. They got to go down to probably around the Ravens 35. That's all they got to do to kick the field goal and tie the game. But let's say Lamar saw Devin Duvernay, threw the pass, Devin caught it, extra point was made, and they got the touchdown. Here's the difference. They would have to, if the Bills offense stalled at the 35, that is useless because they got to go another 35 yards to tie the game. So essentially, the idea is if there was a touchback, it's a difference of going 75 yards in order to tie the game, or put yourself in a position where you can do a 2-point conversion to try to win the game, or go 40 to 45 yards. You know what I'm saying? Like to tie the game. So the difference essentially, and this is what Ravens fans quite understand, it's not even 30 to 35 yard difference. So essentially to tie the game, if you kick the field goal, you would have had to they would have had to gone to the Ravens 35. If you got the touchdown, they would have to score a touchdown to match. Now,
but wouldn't you be confident at least in your defense after how they were playing him for most of the game?
Yeah, no, I think you do that, but you do feel confident. You do have confidence in your defense, but it's also more so it's not really confidence in your defense. It's putting yourself in a better position. In other words, it's basically putting yourself in a better position because, in other words, like it's basically saying if they kick the field goal, it was 35-yard line, and the Bills kicked the field goal to send it to overtime. That's 35 yards less that they would have had to gotten had the Ravens gotten a touchdown. And the fact that the play call was a lot better than what it was last year, it almost worked. I think Ravens fans kind of get too upset about the results of it that when they don't think about the logic of it, where it's like sometimes there's the yard, sometimes you got to think about what the Bills offense, what the Ravens defense is, and even if you got 0 points, if you didn't get a turnover, the Bills start at the 2-yard line, right? So now the Bills got to go 98 yards. They got to go 64, 65 yards to win the game. So now you do trust your defense at that point. So your defense, it was all about putting your defense, not saying that I don't trust the defense, but putting the defense in the best possible position. And the thing is, people are going to say analytics versus the eye test. The analytics, that's what I just explained was the analytics. The eye test is the Bills have a really good offense. Would you rather them have to go at least 60 would you rather them have to go 35 less yards to tie the game versus 75? So that's basically why I wanted to kind of go first, because I don't think football fans quite like.
What are your thoughts on like all like the Ravens fans like calling for like the staff right now and saying that like I've seen like a bunch of tweets saying like this stuff's been happening for the last couple of years. We can't keep losing like this. And a lot of people, it looks like have been calling for Harbaugh's head. Like, do you think that's like just ridiculous? Basically,
it's ridiculous because if it worked on the other end, if more times than not the 4th down conversions worked and they got touchdowns out of it and the 2-point conversions worked, they'll be saying, look how bold John Harbaugh is. So it basically what fans are doing is basically saying they're judging him based off the fact that it didn't work, but they don't realize there's a slight hypocrisy to it because there's the logic behind a decision and the execution of it. And sometimes fans kind of look at it as both, where the way I want to think about it is in this situation, is it logical for it to work? Like, is there sound logic to it? And then also, if there's a play call, that's why I brought up last year when they were going for those 2-point conversions, the play call, like to me, I had no issue with going for it. It was the play calls were absolutely horrific, and it was just pretty much Mark Andrews going to the right, and Lamar or Tyler Huntley at that point going out, same thing, and trying to throw to Mark Andrews. So it was, to me, it's not necessarily the play call, and then also it's I didn't know John Harbaugh played offensive line. I didn't know John Harbaugh played quarterback. I didn't know John Harbaugh played receiver. Harbaugh's just making the decisions, and Lamar said it perfectly. I'm good with the decisions. I have to execute, and like all the players are saying, like even Justin Tucker said, "Hey, I'm cool with it when they do something like this." In fact, he's the one begging for field goals if they're at the 35. Like if they got to take a 55, 60 yard kick, he will. That's the only time he's going to say, "I want to kick a field goal." So this whole thing is like, oh, put Tucker in. It's like Tucker would support that idea. The whole team would support that idea. They would also say, "Look, the coach makes the orders. We have to do the job." And most times than not, recently they haven't done the job. So I do get a little miffed because they kind of blame the coach for it when the players need to do a better job on those plays. So that's basically where I am with that. What are your thoughts on the Steelers?
Yeah, so first half, a lot of the same stuff. Defense was playing well, offense was bad. Mitch Trubisky had some decent throws, not so good throws. The wide receivers were making it hard on him just because they were not catching easy passes. And Mike Tomlin, for what it's worth, credit to him, he made the quarterback change. Kenny Pickett comes in, offense looks a lot better under him. He definitely has that swagger to him that was not evident under Mitch Trubisky. He comes in, leads them on 2 straight touchdown drives, 2 straight rushing touchdowns. They're up 20-10, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then all hell breaks loose. I am sorry. If you are blowing a 10-point lead at home to the New York Jets, that is a bad football team. I don't care. You have a great defense, right? I don't care that TJ Watt's out. Sorry, I don't. You have Cam Hayward in there, Alex Highsmith, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Myles Jack. Go up there and make a play. You are playing Zach Wilson in his first game, someone who had a really bad rookie season, someone who was playing horrifically through 3 quarters. You cannot let him carve you up on 2 straight drives. One of the most crucial moments in the fourth quarter, 4th and 7, they're about 39, 40-yard line, 2 deep, 2 into punt, 2, it's out of their field goals range, 20-10 game, make a play. Plenty of third downs on the final drive. You have to make a play. You spent all that money on your defense. Brian Flores is there. Mike Tomlin, we all know he calls the plays. Teryl Austin's there. I'm sorry. I've defended the defense a lot this season. That's unacceptable. You're playing the Jets. They're not good. They're probably one of the worst teams in the league. Zach Wilson, I'm sorry. I don't think he's that good. He had a really nice fourth quarter. I'll give him that. First 3 quarters, he was absolute crap. He could not throw to save his life. So they're not really going to get any much sympathy from me. Another big moment in the game. It's 20-17, about 3:40 left. You're in Boswell's range, up 3, 2nd and 15. Kenny's rolling out a little bit. He's got to throw it away there. But that's a rookie mistake, right? He's going to learn that. I think Freiermuth probably should have had it. He's one of the better tight ends in the league. If he throws that a little higher, they probably get a field goal there, make it 23-17. Who knows if they even lose that game at that point? Honestly, I think they may not have, just because, I think the defense obviously would have been given a longer field to work with, just because they took over at like the 35 or 40-yard line following that interception. I think, again, there's plenty of blame to go around. The offense looked really bad in the first half. Mitch Trubisky wasn't playing well. The defense was absolutely atrocious. In the fourth quarter, again, you're not getting a lot. You only sacked Zach Wilson like 1 time when they're on like their 5th or 6th starting tackle. Honestly, we would probably get calls from the Jets at this point, considering how badly banged up their tackles are. It's just a bad loss.
Max Mitchell was out, right? Max Mitchell was out. Max Mitchell,
yes, he got hurt during the game, I believe. So they were literally on their 5th or 6th tackle. Excuse me. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's a bad loss. You're 1-3 now. And their next 4 games, you go to Buffalo, you play the Bucks, you play the Dolphins, and you play the Eagles. I'll also go out there and say it. If they're anything better than 1-7, I would be shocked. I would legitimately be shocked if they won one of those 4 next games. I'm dead serious. I do not think they will win any of those next 4 games. And it's good that they're probably going to use that time to evaluate Kenny Pickett. You have to see what you have in him. You have playmakers around him. You can tailor your offense to the way he plays. It looked good in the second half today. They were able to move the ball up and down the field pretty efficiently. I'm not going to really blame him too much on most of the interceptions. The third one was obviously a Hail Mary. First one, Chase Claypool's got to make that play. He's 6'5", 240. Make a 50-50 contested catch. The second one, you want him to throw it away, but I think Pat Freiermuth also could have caught it. So I'm kind of blaming both of them there. But it's just a loss that, they should be 2-2 right now. You can't lose a game to a team. I mean, I feel like that's probably worse than the Steelers, but that's why they call it any given Sunday around here. So definitely probably the most annoyed I have been. Mike Tomlin didn't have his defense ready to go. It's a bad look for a unit that was supposed to be a top 5 unit coming into this year. Again, I know that they're without TJ. I know he makes this unit go because, you have to game plan for him, and that opens up rushing lanes for Highsmith and Hayward and all those guys. But man, when he's not out there, D, you can really see it's almost like basically taking away a franchise quarterback from your offense. That is literally what it is.
Or taking away the best pass catch, like taking Kelsey away from the Chiefs and see what happens.
It is, and I would also say again, as I just said, it's like taking away a top franchise quarterback from your offense. Like the defense runs through him, it opens up other lanes for the other players to make plays. And now that he's not there, you're seeing this unit get exposed for what it is without him. It's an average defense without arguably the best pass rusher in the league, and you saw that on full display today in the fourth quarter. You cannot get carved up by Zach Wilson. He's nothing special. The Jets offense is putrid. They literally had 10 points through the first 3+ quarters of this game. Sorry. Like you should be able to stop them in the fourth quarter, especially after your offense just gave you a 10-point cushion when Kenny Pickett came in. They scored 20 unanswered points on the Jets after they went up 10-0 in the first quarter. Just a really annoying loss, and it's going to be a long week now. I'm sure Pickett's going to start. You don't make that move if you're not starting him next week. You can't go back to Trubisky at this point. We all know it's a rebuilding year, but at this point, you have to see what you have in this rookie. The quarterback class is really, really good next season, especially with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young coming. You got to know what you have right now, to say the least. So I'm excited about him. At least that's a positive. Chris Boswell made the longest field goal in Acrisure Stadium history, 59-60 yards. So that was at least a positive. But other than that, not much else to like about this game. A game that should have been a win, especially when you have less than 10 minutes left in a home game against a bad Jets team. Got to finish that off. And on drive, you can't let them, especially can't let them score a touchdown there. I would have been maybe, I guess, more okay with a field goal because at least you have a shot in overtime. But, that's more 50-50 at this point. But you have to make a stop there. You have so many elite players on that unit, just not good enough. And now they're facing a pretty daunting stretch of the schedule. And again,
Bills coming up next week.
Yep. I'd be surprised, honestly, as the 4 teams I showed you, I would be stunned if they were not if they were anything better than 1-7, 2-6 after that stretch.
Yeah, I think the thing we all have to keep in mind, it's only week 4. Like we also do have to, but then you're right. Like the Steelers do, I don't know what their identity is on the offense. Because what is Pickett going to do? I mean, that's the other thing. And then if Pickett struggles, and then you're in position for C.J. Stroud or Will Levis or Bryce Young, who, by the way, with his shoulder injury, his draft stock might drop. So it's like, yeah, so like. Do the Steelers then take another quarterback in the first round? I doubt it, but I mean, maybe next year. Maybe next year with Caleb Williams or something like I believe not the Clemson guy, but like maybe someone like Caleb Williams, right? Maybe you try to stick it out with Kenny Pickett until 2 years from now. Maybe you go that direction, but maybe Anthony Richardson. We'll see about him. The guy from UNC, Drake May, it could be an option a couple years from now. Like Slovis is another option. Like there's guys that could be there. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how much of a leash they give Kenny Pickett. I mean, look, I think I texted you this. I don't know what was worse, Zach Wilson catching a touchdown pass or him doing the gritty.
It's embarrassing. That was just an awful, like the New York special at your home stadium. Like, get out of here, man. Like, that's just like, they've had so many chances to win that game. You're up 20-10. with 10 minutes left at your home stadium. The whole fan base is behind you. They get the ball back after the touchdown. They have numerous third downs on that drive to cut it to 3. Even a 4th and 7 from the 40-yard line. Someone has to step up and make a play on that drive and on the ensuing drive. Inexcusable. You have to do it. I don't care who's out. You have many 3rd and 4th downs. Go up and make a play. It's Zach Wilson and the Jets, and they do not have a lot of talent on their offense. I know Garrett Wilson's awesome. Outside of that, I really don't like their offense that much. So
yeah, and I just saw a tweet, I think from, was it Alex Kozora that you retweeted about, and it was basically saying Cam Hayward in his 3 games without TJ Watt, 1 tackle for loss. I mean, if that guy is getting double teamed,
not good enough.
Not good enough. Like Alex Highsmith definitely has a lot to live up to at that point. I mean, let's talk the rest of the NFL. I mean, anything that stood out. I mean, if you want to talk about the Tua thing, we could do that. Anything in the rest of the NFL that stood out?
I think the Colts are frauds. I think everyone hyped them up this offseason. They look bad. That's a bad football team. I did see the Browns lose today. I mean, every game for them is basically a coin flip until Deshaun Watson returns, and even then it might be a coin flip too because he'll be banged up a lot. I was kind of surprised, honestly, the Ravens blew that 17-point lead. I know they've blown they've already blown 2 big leads. It's actually crazy to, you think about it. They're 2-2, but they could honestly be 4-0. I mean, especially when you look at those losses.
With also a 37-year-old defensive coordinator. With his 4 games, like he definitely needs to get better with second half adjustments. But I mean, you also got to think about it. We didn't have Justin Houston today. We didn't have Houston today. Ty Bowser, still hasn't come back yet. David Ojabo, our 2nd-round pick, hasn't come back yet. I mean, so like our defense isn't like at full strength. Michael Pierce had a biceps injury after last week's game. He's out for the year. So I mean, it is a little bit of Mike Macdonald doesn't have full pieces around him. It's also it's his 4th game. Like the guy needs to. I think he needs to have second half adjustments better. But let's be honest here. He's new at this point. Like he had 1 year of defensive coordinator experience at Michigan. But there's a difference between being defensive coordinator in Big Ten and in the NFL. So that's something he'll get better at over time. Now, there is also, like I think we were talking about this before the show, the Ravens do have a press conference tomorrow. I know Harbaugh normally has a press conference. I wonder how much of the second half lack of offensive adjustments from his offensive counterpart Greg Roman has something to do with it. Maybe you get a more competent guy because Greg Roman has been solid this year. But how much of it is Greg Roman? How much of it is T. Martin and Keith Williams, the pass game coaches? And I will say that T. Martin is the assistant head coach, and he's been here for more than a year. And right now, I could see T. Martin kind of stepping into that role. And look, let's also be clear. In 2012, Joe Flacco was in a rookie contract, and the Ravens fired Cam Cameron, like in week 9.
I remember that,
yeah, week 9. So this time around, and we know how that season ended. And it's also funny coincidences here because if I am right, it is Roman the one being fired. Lamar is looking for a new contract.
Yeah.
Ravens might fire their offensive coordinator mid-season. Well, mid-season and being relative. We'll see what happens if the same correlation happens, but it's gonna be pretty interesting what this announcement is tomorrow. But I think it is a little ridiculous seeing some of these coaches being like Harbaugh and Tomlin kind of being wanting people wanting them to be fired. Considering you look at the team like the Denver Broncos, and you look at how people are hyping up the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson and that is the most fraudulent 2-1 team right now. That is the most fraudulent 2-1 team.
They definitely look fraudulent. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, the Raiders with Josh McDaniels. Yikes! That's they look like a bad football team.
And they have no excuses. Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Renfro, Derek Carr. I mean, it is, and then that is. I mean, we are seeing disappointing teams out there. do you want to let's just give our brief thoughts on the whole Tua situation. That was really ugly. What I don't want to happen is because we all know that they tried to tamper with Brady.
Yeah,
They tried
we
to
did.
go after Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
What I really hope that they don't do
And
is,
Sean Payton. Sean Payton.
yeah, that as well. But this is more quarterback related. What I really hope they don't do is, and because the Dolphins, let's be honest, they have not made the best decisions the past few years. They've been in trouble. What I don't want them to do is encourage Tua to play, and instead of hiding, instead of saying, "Oh yeah, it's for like competitive reasons," I don't want them to have this idea, and this might be conspiracy theory. I don't want them to be put Tua in a position where it gives them an excuse to get out of the Tua Tagovailoa business and go after another quarterback. I don't want that to happen where you're purposely hurting this young man's career just so you can get an upgrade in the offseason. That I
Yeah.
don't.
Good point.
That is a that is a. I mean, this is a team that's tanked. This is a team that was tampering.
Yeah.
This is a team that has like the fact that their owner can't even come to the games. That tells you a lot. I
That's
wouldn't
not
put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them to sink down to a newer.
there is no reason for him to have played that game. I'm sorry. There wasn't. He looked woozy coming out of that game against Buffalo. It's unreal that he was allowed back in. And also, let's just say this. Before this, the NFL does not give a crap about concussions. They never have. I know you saw the movie. Then they're only doing these changes now because they may look bad at the end of this.
They
That's the
got
only
their
reason
hand
we
caught in
need.
the jar, and they want people to forget about it.
Yeah, absolutely. They have never cared about head trauma, any of that stuff. They're only doing this investigation, firing these people, and blah, 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 just because they may look bad. And you know what? They do look bad right now for a part of it, especially the Dolphins. You know, I could see them getting more fine and all that. I could see the league getting crushed. I mean, it probably already is at this point. It's not a good look for anyone. And I think Tagovailoa, he's going to get interviewed this week by the NFL. Don't know what the heck he's going to say at this point, but there's no reason he should have played. He had that stupid, was it like a hip injury? Sorry, that's just
no. You don't stand up, walk a few steps, and fall down like a drunk idiot.
Yes,
it's a back injury.
100%.
It was a concussion. They don't like, and they just want. Yeah, I think that they just care more about winning. And look, Tua might want to play. He might want to do it. This is a moment where NFL teams have to protect the players from themselves. Ryan Clark did tell he tells his famous story of like when he was, I think it was he was either going to Denver or they just played Denver, and then he had an injury, and then he wanted to play, and then I think you know the story. Mike Tomlin said, if you were my son, I would not allow you to play. And
yeah, I read that today. Yes,
Mike McDaniel, I don't care how young of a coach he is, he has to make that decision.
Agreed.
John Harbaugh, if this was Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh makes that decision, says, no, you cannot play. If this was heck, if it's Mason Rudolph, Mike Tomlin says you can't play. It is I get it that he's a young coach, but it is an organizational failure for what they did. And then admitting that he has a concussion and then saying, oh yeah, he was on the plane watching a movie. You don't put
give me a break.
You don't put him in front of a screen from Cincinnati to Miami, which is what, 3 hours, 4 hours at least.
You're right. Yeah.
So you don't do that. It's gross negligence, and look, and the Dolphins deserve and don't deserve what happens to them, and they probably deserve to get more than what absolutely happens to him. And then I mean, other teams. I mean, the Lions have been. We'll see what the Lions do. The Eagles have been solid. We'll see what they do.
I'll say the Cowboys. I'll give them credit. Cooper Rush has actually looked competent. No, there's no stupid quarterback controversy there. I don't know why Jerry Jones has to make that a thing. They're 3-1. They have a massive game next week. I think Prescott's going to play. But I know I've crapped on Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys a lot recently. I will give them credit. They've They've won 3 games in a row. They're 3-1. They've set themselves up really nice for Prescott's return. That's a really solid job, I think, by the Cowboys. I'll give them credit there.
Yeah.
And also the AFC North, I think, might be a very mid division this year.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not really worried about the Ravens right now. I don't think if you're for Steelers, I wouldn't be worried about the Steelers. Now, granted, Matt Canada is not a great offensive coordinator. So I wonder if they'll fire Matt Canada at some point midseason.
If this season goes really bad, I do not see a way he's back next year. I think, I don't really like his offense to begin with. I think it's a high school level stuff. It's stuff you see when you're 16, 17 years old. Yeah, it looked a bit better today in the second half with Kenny Pickett running the show, but sorry, you need more than 20 points to win games in the NFL these days, especially with offenses. Even the Jets, they had 10 points through 3 quarters, but teams can flip a switch on a dime, and you need more than 20 points to win in today's NFL.
Yeah, and then I'll be curious to see if the Steelers have someone internal or if they're just going to go and just see what they have. If they go on the free agent, or if they go on the coaching free agent market, see who they have. So we'll move on to Hokies football. They lost. They got crushed by UNC. If you're Brent, a couple of questions here. What are your thoughts on this? On the fan reaction after the first 4 games, but also what does Brent Pry? What does he need to go to the team for?
People, you go on the 247 board, and it's like people these people react like they're a bunch of 13-year-olds going through puberty. That's literally how it is. I'm sorry if that's bad to say. It's literally like they're going through puberty or like an emo phase when they're in middle school. It's been 5 games. We all know the team was going to suck this year. This is a rebuilding year, for God's sake. And yeah, part of the issues are coaching. I'll say that. Brent Pry looks out of his depth at times. Tyler Bowen, some of his play calls kind of remind me of Brad Cornelson. But also, this team has mostly G5 level talent on it. Look across the talent level on the team right now. How many of those starters are Power 5 level players? Give me a number. Less than 10, less than that probably.
Yeah.
5.
Caleb Smith might be a good third receiver, but he's a 1.
He's not bad. I'll give you
Gallo
that.
is a blocking tight end. Blumerick, I don't know about him. Grant Wells is probably a backup on other teams. Jason Brown,
it's not good enough, and you can really see that. Again, Justin Fuente screwed them. That's the fact of the situation here. I know losing 41-10 to UNC is bad. No, you're getting crushed by one of your rivals. I never expected them to win that game. I didn't expect them to be good this year. Going 6-6 is going to be a very uphill battle, even with this schedule. But the fact of the matter is, the team was always going to be bad this year. But there's going to be a lot of growing pains. Maybe you win 4-5 this year. Maybe you win 6-7 next year. Maybe you win 9-10 in year 3. I really liked Brent Pry's answer when he was asked about it after the game. He admitted it. He's like, yeah, I want them to stick with us. I know the fans, it's tough right now, but know that there's a process to doing everything, and we want to do everything the right way. But, my biggest thing is you have to hammer the portal hard this offseason. There's no excuses for that. You can also recruit. You can get the players in your state, but you have to hit the portal on both sides of the ball. There are Power 5 level players in that portal every single cycle. Good players in there. And a lot of the players right now, I'm sorry, they're not cutting it. So some players obviously going to leave after this season. They're going to transfer, graduate, all that stuff. It's up to you to replace them with better players, probably from the portal. Because right now, this team is filled with mostly Justin Fuente players, basically all of Justin Fuente players.
And scraps from other teams.
Yeah, scraps from other teams, and you can see it. Obviously, again, I want to see them keep recruiting. I want the recruiting to be a lot better. But if you're not hammering the portal this offseason, you're doing it wrong. That's what I will say about that. It's going to be a long year. We all know it. We all thought it was good. This year was going to be bad. Hopefully there are better days ahead of us, but you can really see the lack of talent going up against these teams. Even West Virginia, 2 or 3 playmakers on their offense, right? You're losing by 20. North Carolina, okay, sure. They have a lot of 4, 5-star recruits on both sides of the ball, but their defense is also not that good. And you also beat North Carolina at Lane Stadium last year when a lot of their offensive players, including Sam Howell, who was there, mostly 4 or 5-star recruits. But, there's only so much you can do, when some of these players, their development is not going right. I don't think they're not trying or anything like that. I don't want you to think I'm saying that, but it's evident that there's a lack of talent in the program right now, and it needs to be addressed. And also, again, I will say the coaching needs to be a lot better too. One of the plays yesterday, I think you're down like 11, 12, or maybe a little more than that. 4th and 1, you're punting the ball. Sorry, you have to go for it there. I don't care that, that you're down. Your defense is not able to get some stops. It's not good enough. So that's my thoughts overall on the state of the program. I don't know if you agree with what I'm saying, but I'll give the floor over to you.
I agree with what you're saying. Like it's very clear the talent level is not, it's barren, and you have guys who are young and what need to develop.
Yes.
But there's a little bit of a losing mentality here where and I think Brent Pry, he obviously can't say that Fuente put him in a bad place. So his quotes have kind of been that Fuente has put him in a bad place. Like he's saying it without saying it, right? It's like saying, yeah, like we have to recruit better. Oh, that tells me the previous coaching staff recruiting sucked. We have to develop better, right? The previous recruiting, so it is an indictment on the other guys, on Fuente, on Cornelsen, and those guys. So, but he's too polite to say it. Like he's too polite to say I'm in a bad situation. And I like the fact that he's saying this is a long process. This is a very long process, and bear with me, and we'll see what they do. And I think that we can see a quick turnaround. We could potentially see a quick turnaround. I mean, if you look at Kansas, they've been pretty solid this year. I mean, Kentucky used to be a mid. You would say a mid, like a mid.
NC State was the same thing. They used to be really mid.
Yeah. So they can do it. I think they got to hit the portal hard. They got to go and get some of these guys. They have to and then hope that these younger guys develop and keep recruiting Virginia, and then just remain competitive in these games. And I think if you do that, then it's fine. I mean, you have people soiling their pants over how bad the season has been. I mean, they wouldn't. I don't think they would have survived Beamer's first couple years because
no chance.
They would have wanted him fired. So
and you're already seeing that on the board right now, and it's like it's October 2nd. Guys, first 5 games as a coach, chill out and stop being emotional. Go outside, touch some grass, go spend time with your wife or something like that. It is really not that serious. I used to be like that when I was a kid, 14, 15 years old. I let this stuff ruin my day. And yeah, I still get annoyed when my teams lose, but I'm also going to be 25 next month. So I get over it. It's part of life. I know people care. I love that. I mean, it shows that, this program's a part of you, and most of these people went to school there. I mean, obviously, you and I both did, and we care a lot about this program, and I'll be a Virginia Tech fan until the day I die. You will be the same. We've both been rooting for the program since we were kids. But I also know that, you don't need to have these reactionary takes for the sake of it. Just
you have to be realistic. You have to be hopeful, but realistic. There's a balance in between, and that's where you need to be. And I think with the new coaching staff, you also have to be patient. And it's like, look, I get annoyed with Tyler Bowen. I think that his play calls are not great. I mean, look, they like to do power run over and over and over again, even when it doesn't work. And they do have sometimes on the outside plays, getting it outside the numbers, they have success, and then they'll have success with it, and then they'll go back and try to go to the middle of the field, and then the offense drive will stall, and then the defense kind of loses momentum, and then now we'll go back to the outside numbers game, and then it does get annoying on that front. We're gonna end with some baseball talk. We do have news in baseball. Mariners made the playoffs, first time in 21 years. Now it looks like the American League playoffs. Astros clinched the number 1 seed. It's Yankees are 2, Guardians are 3. It's Rays, Blue Jays, and Mariners. What are your and then obviously you have Aaron Judge chase for 62. I mean, obviously as a Nationals fan, he probably checked out. But what like checked out the season? But what are your thoughts on the playoff field so far?
I mean, it's pretty good. A lot of the teams I don't like are in it, so that's kind of be a little annoying. I was hoping the Nationals. I know it's been a rough season. I wanted them to knock the Phillies out so bad. They got off to a good start, took one of the games to doubleheaders, but then they lost 3 out of 4 in this series. It looks like the Phillies are going to make the playoffs for the first time in basically a decade. Um, but thank God there's only one more series left against the Mets. I've been checked out, I think, for basically a while now, to say the least. I know a lot of people, I might get hate for this. I want Aaron Judge to break the record. Sorry. I feel like, I've been really invested in it just because my granddad was a massive Yankees fan. He passed away a little over a month ago. So his favorite player was Roger Maris, but um, I still kind of want him to break the record just because I feel like, part of him would want it too. So that's how I stand on it. I hope he does break the record over these next 4 games. I know he couldn't do it against the Orioles. He was able to tie it. At least hopefully the next team they face, they're able to pitch
Rangers.
to him.
I mean, yeah, the Rangers have been out of it for a while. I mean,
So that's gonna be something else then.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it comes to Aaron Judge's record, look, I don't like for me personally, and we talked about this last week. I think Barry Bonds has the actual record.
I
think
agree.
that I think Roger Maris and Aaron Judge have the second highest record. I don't count McGwire or Sosa, because it's just like when it comes to baseball, it's this guy's using PEDs, and then that team that won the division in 1940 was sign stealing, and then the Astros, like how it gets, it's a very slippery slope. It's like if you start taking away records for one form of cheating, and then you got to take away a bunch of other records, and I that's the part that annoys me. It's the insistence that Barry Bonds does not have the record. Does not His record is illegitimate. That's the thing that bothers me more. The other thing about the Aaron Judge thing, the Orioles were pitching him down and away over and over and over and over and over again. They were giving him some pitches like high in the zone or close to him, but that'll be like if it was like a 5 or 6 pitch at bat, it's probably 1 or 2 pitches that wasn't down and away. And then fans got so upset. It's like, well, you're being chickens. Like, no, he's 6'7" and can crush a ball 500 feet. At the or and by and the Orioles, they want to play for a winning record. You don't pitch inside to him. Even if he wasn't chasing a record, I still would not. My first choice would not be to pitch inside to him. It would start being away. And look, the Orioles are under no obligation to beat a team that Aaron Judge breaks the record. I don't care if it's at Yankee Stadium. There are no obligations. If they want to pitch him away, then Aaron Judge has to poke it over that little league dimension they call in Yankee Stadium. They call right field. If he can do that, great. But we're not going to give you meatballs like it's a Subway sandwich.
That was good. That was good.
Thanks. Let's be clear. You have to earn that, and
let's just sum this up, Adi. You just didn't want him to see him break the record against your team. That's the summary of this.
Right? Yeah, that probably. But it was also
come on.
Yeah, but it was at Yankee Stadium. I mean, if it was at Orioles Park, that might have been more.
Okay, good point.
Yeah, but no, but it's also more annoying in the idea that you get so obsessed with breaking the record that you want pitchers to groove pitches. That's the more annoying thing. I mean, look, I'll admit I didn't want Aaron Judge to break the record against the Orioles.
There you go.
I didn't want that. But at the same time, I hated the idea of the Orioles should just groove pitches. That part I don't like. Like you have to earn it at that point. But the Orioles didn't do it. They had a great message because today they won their 82nd game. That means for the first time since 2015, the Orioles have a winning record.
They won nice job.
And they were, by the way, they were eliminated from the postseason 5 games before the season ended. No one thought that was going to happen. No one thought that was going to happen. Like the point, like everyone knew they weren't going to make the playoffs, but no one thought it was going to be 5 games before the season ended. So that's impressive. The fact that they're 82 wins. They're in the we are one veteran away. Like where the Mariners were last year, they had 85 wins, and then they made a couple of big moves, and then they're competitive now. The Orioles, are, we can safely say, are in that same place. Um, we'll see what they do there, but they won their 82nd game. I love the fact that the Orioles trolled with their Instagram or their Twitter announcement when they won. It's like people were expecting 62, but they instead got 82.
Oh, you guys are, come on.
No, yeah, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Come on.
But yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I'm not really thrilled with the AL playoffs. I mean, granted, we all know Yankees, Houston, we know that. Tampa, Toronto, Cleveland, Mariners. I'm
Man,
kind of rooting for Mariners. I'm kind of rooting
yeah,
for.
that's a fun storyline. You know, seeing how crazy their stadium was going, 2 decades worth of just misery. The announcer was going crazy with his "Hey Now" call. I think it's their network announcer. Just, I'm so happy for them. You know, that's a team again that's just been really bad, right, for just a lot
Yeah,
of years. And I'm really, even though they'll be a wild card team, right? I think they're going to play in
yeah,
a wild card series probably. Really, still, playoff baseball is going to return there. You know, a lot of fans probably have never seen playoff baseball, considering it's been 21 years. So, congratulations to them, and I'll be rooting for them as well.
yeah. So we'll end the show on that note. We'll be back. Well, I think we should. I think we're experimenting. I'm curious. We should experiment with like Sunday around 4 o'clock, like in between the games, or
Yeah,
Saturday.
we can maybe keep experimenting with that, just because the VT games are always on at like the time we want to record. So
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see, because I may have to be somewhere on Sunday. We'll see about that stuff. But yeah, we'll see you sometime next week, whether it's Saturday or Sunday in the afternoon.
yeah, sounds good. We'll be back next week probably.
All right, bye.